Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Shooting Hoops in the Boot. We are obviously shorthanded tonight. One person, and you know what they say: when the boss is away, the mice will play, or in this case, the guys. Mark is a little bit under the weather tonight, but I am joined by Charlie Duckworth and, of course, Christopher the Dog Brown. Guys, how are we?
I'm good. I just got home last night from Branson, and I'm happy to be back home. I was starting to get homesick. Hotel beds not good on a back.
Well, I think that depends on the hotel.
That's
Chris,
true.
my man, yeah.
Uh, first off, man, congratulations, Charlie. I know you got some hardware. And I've been seeing all these beta clubs. The Boot Hill was well represented. I know I got on Facebook, man, and Portageville, Hayti, Crothersville, South
Delta.
Pim. I mean, Delta. I mean, kudos to all these sponsors and these teachers that are guiding and leading these students, to these top 5 finishes and then on to the nationals. And man, I just been impressed with all that. Didn't have beta when I was in school, but kudos to all those teachers and all the hard work, because I know it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and Charlie, can you kind of, before we get going, kind of give us a little bit of info about beta? Because beta wasn't around when I was in school either, so this is kind of new. And I know that you and your mother, my sister, are big into beta. She's one of the coaches. So tell us a little bit about beta and what you guys do, and tell me about the awards.
Well, Beta is a youth organization that's set up in 3 sectors: elementary, junior, which is for junior high, and senior, which is for high school. It's a group that basically the whole motto is the whole thing about it is to tell kids that they can lead, serve, and achieve. And so they teach students the ideals of achievement, character, leadership, and service. That's the 4 pillars. And they have a big statewide event called a convention every single year where kids go and compete. A few years ago it was in Springfield, and then now it's in Branson. But I've been in it since I was in 6th grade, I'm pretty sure. So that would be way too long for me to 5 years ago or 5 grades ago. But you just go up there and you compete in whatever you think your strong suit is. If it's singing, there's a kid that did Purple Rain by Prince and played it like it was Super Bowl, that guitar solo. I have a video of it. It's beautiful. Besides that, I competed in Quiz Bowl. We got 5th place in that. We lost to Portageville.
There you go, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, and let me throw this out there too. Congratulations to Portageville's own Miss Juliana Priggle, who is the new Missouri Beta president. Yeah, but go ahead, Charlie.
I competed in Quiz Bowl with 3 of my friends, and we got 5th place because we had the most points of all the teams eliminated in the first round, which 70. Then besides that, I did U.S. history, which I placed 3rd in right here. Then I did book battle with my girlfriend and a couple others, and we did not place in that. But next year, I already promised next year we're gonna get in there by hook or by crook.
All right, well, but it sounds like it's too big to rig, so you better get in there by hook.
Well, we'll get it by crook, buddy.
Okay. Well, congratulations to everyone. That's such an awesome accomplishment. And like Chris said, I did the same thing. I saw the awards. Of course, I was in a messenger group seeing that who got local awards, and then it just seemed like all over the area. I know that my niece was up there as well, Emma Kate. So she represented Delta, and then So anyway, it was a great thing. Congratulations to you, Charlie, and to everybody, all the winners. For all you out there listening, congratulations. That's a great thing. So Charlie, you were gone for a week. I'm gonna start with Chris. Chris, what kind of action have you got to see on the court this week?
Well, the Portageville Bulldogs. We had 3. Actually, I broadcasted 2 games, but as we had New Madrid County Central in town. But before that, the Portageville girls played the Chaffee girls. and ended up winning that game. And that was a head-to-head heavyweight battle. And so for this coming tomorrow will be the new poll. I'm looking forward that the Portersville Lady Bulldogs will be in the top 10 in Class 3. They should, in my opinion, as they was right there on the cusp last week and had a good week this week. Bulldogs fell to New Madrid, but we got 3 good games this week, and looking forward to those. And I know we'll talk about our schedules coming up, but that's pretty much all. Other than watching you and Mark do y'all's thing on the hardwood and follow the Crosville Tigers. I probably watched. I watched both of those games. You and Mark did an excellent job, and you did a good job, excellent job as well. Covering it was some exciting basketball, man. That South Penn game was unbelievable, and thought they was going to come back there at the end, Jeremy. And but Crosville,
well, they certainly tried.
Yeah, Crosville. I knew that they were going to be impressive, but it's like I told Coach Bell last week. I got a feeling that 6 and 7 ain't gonna stay long, and so you see where we are.
No, I see, and I'm glad you brought that up. Have we talked about, and we'll continue to all the way through the Boot Heel Conference tournament. Crosville starting off with that schedule. So if you look at it, you take away those opening 4 games that most teams would never want to start with, especially the first 2. But take away those first 4 teams. Since those 4 losses, the Tigers are 8-3, and the last 3 wins have been a different team, absolutely different team. With the wins this week against South Penobscot and against Zenith Hornersville. Obviously, we're going to get to our top 10s later. They've been honorable mention for several of us throughout the brackets. I think week 1 they were in there. I got a feeling they're going to be among just about every top 10 list, as I've got everyone's here in front of me. Yeah, over the past week or so, I've got to see a handful of teams. I got to see Delta and Chaffee. I did the game in Delta. Delta was actually winning that game throughout the first quarter, and then Chaffee just went on a run, and Delta couldn't keep up with them. That was here in Deering. Then I got to see South Pam and Crothersville, and then Crothersville and Zenith. So I've got to a widespread of area teams, and I got to say, Delta really impressed me. It's the first time I've got to see them on the court. I've seen some scores, some lopsided scores, but like I said, they were winning that game, and I think they're one more strong shooter away from being a team to really compete with and become someone that we could be an honorable mention or even crack up the top 10. But they're also a very young team, so I give my props to Delta, and Alex Morgan and everyone was very cordial in getting us set up. And unfortunately for the Chaffee team, their bus got stuck on a turn on their way to Delta. So that game was got off to a little bit of a late start. In fact, I didn't even have the junior varsity roster because the scorebook was still on the bus. But someone from Deering went and got the players and brought them to the school as they dug the bus out. So welcome to the Boot Heel, folks.
Right. Also this past week, I didn't really cover any games except the Campbell game. But my Dogs went 2-1. They beat Holcomb 67-41, and then they turned around and beat Scott County Central 61-50. Both of those games were on the road. Then we had Campbell that came in, and I got to do that game right here on Boot Hill Sports Network. And that was an exciting game. We fell 54-45, but man, that was an exciting game, and I learned a lot about the Bulldogs, as you can't never really count them out, as they give Campbell all they wanted. And so I was proud of them, and like I say, looking forward to some ball this week.
Yeah, I'll get to see, me and Charlie will get to see Campbell. I think it's Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And that's the prelude to the Battle of the Boot Heel coming up.
Tuesday is also homecoming for Crothersville.
That's right. They did move homecoming to Tuesday night. So Charlie and I will have that on the Boot Heel Sports Network. What other games? I don't have Portersville's schedule in front of me. Is Portersville, boys or girls, are they going to be home this week at all?
Yes, the boys are going to be at home. They actually, a game that kind of got added late. They're going to host Twin Rivers. That's going to be on Thursday. But they're going to be on the road to Zenith on Monday and on the road to Malden on Friday.
So they got a full schedule.
Yes, full schedule this week for sure.
But you watch out for that Malden team, as Charlie and I were talking about. The way they played Crothersville for the first half and the way they played South Pam all the way through, that team is itching for a win, and they're going to get one somewhere. But you're right about the Bulldogs. I went back and watched your video, and they were in that game with Campbell the whole way through.
Yes, just hung in there with them. The JV Campbell JV boys come out, and of course it defeated our guys, but they was just knocking threes down left and right, and but come to the varsity game, and Campbell was having a little bit of trouble knocking the three down. But our guys, I think Zay Bogan, I think he had 25, so he kind of carried the team on his back, but. Like I say, I was proud of them. They give Campbell all they wanted. I know they had Coach Steve Fowler sweating over there on the sideline. But I know that him and any of these other coaches around ain't going to take any Boot Hill team lightly, even Malden. Like you said, it just ain't going to happen. They're going to game plan for a strong game. When it's a Boot Hill conference, you can throw the records out the window.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's really going to be interesting is and then we needed to discuss tonight as we discuss our top tens with the Boot Hill Conference tournament. Just it seems like it's right around the corner now. What kind of seedings are we going to see now? Because I'm telling you, there's been some upsets and some surprises over the past week and a half. Upsets to some I think are obvious upsets, and some maybe just considered upsets, considering how much we put our faith into some of the teams that we see more than the ones that we read more about. But before we get to our top tens, Charlie, I know, like I said, you've been on the road, but have you got to watch much of the Boot Hill Sports Network and some of the action we've been covering?
Yeah, I watched South Pim versus Crothersville at one of the junior beta general sessions. I was watching it with some of the kids there. Then when that ended, walked up, put it on TV in the hotel. I was watching it. Then I had to go get some Culvers in like the last minute. So I had to put it on my phone, watch it. These people are looking at me. I'm in the lobby. I'm just watching it, and you are yelling, and I'm like, I don't know if I should have this grown man yelling on my phone right now while all these people are looking at me.
That's
just try to get some cheese curds.
Sports, and a Butterburger. Did you get a Butterburger while you were
I got
there?
a Butterburger. I got a Butterburger, and it was good. It was a very good Butterburger.
Yeah, that the South Penn game. That's to me what I thought was an upset, with South Penn being known as one of the powerhouses, even with the smaller scale as far as schedule goes. They did go in and beat Hayti.
Yes.
And then, and like we talked about, who in their right mind schedules Hayti and Crothersville on back-to-back nights? But that shows faith in your team. But they did go in and beat Hayti, which I've told you all year long. I think Hayti is a powerhouse. I was surprised by that one. I wouldn't call that an upset, but I will call the Crothersville beating South Penn an upset because of where Crothersville stood on record-wise, and just because of what we've seen and know about South Penn, especially with their big upset over Riverside earlier in the season. So I think that was an upset, as a little bit of a surprise, because Crothersville maintained 15 to 20-point lead throughout most of that game until South Penn made two good, strong comebacks. But in the end, Crothersville won by double digits. So that was a impressive win for the Tigers. And like I said, I think we've all got our eyes on them now. And I think Coach Bell has got that team really woke at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jeremy, you mentioned the South Pim Hayti game, and I feel like we're in a conundrum maybe. And after this week, let's say Hayti beats Crothersville. There's a 3-way tie for the 1 seed in
Correct.
the Boot Hill Conference tournament. What rule book do we have to dig out? How old does it have to be to figure out the tiebreaker between South Pim, Crothersville, Hayti? Because if they all beat the same conference opponents and lost to each other, it's a 3-way tie.
Chris, I'm going to see if you have any more knowledge on that than I do, because I'm thinking it goes with overall record if it's a 3-way tie.
Yeah, and I'm sure maybe points against before might come into play. I'm not really sure. But I'm not surprised. It's Boot Hill Conference basketball, guys, and this is exactly what you're going to get into.
It's what
you
we've
know,
been
when it comes
talking about
time.
all year long. So, folks, if you
Mhm.
didn't believe us and don't think we know what we're talking about, this is the Boot Hill Conference. This is what you're going to get out of it. And boys, it shined its light in the past week.
Yes. Yes.
Well, if you want, because this is going to lead to more discussions, I'm sure we can go ahead and get into the top tens and then get into more. And hopefully, if anyone is out there listening and knows a little bit more about how because I know more personally, I know more about how the football rankings go when it comes to tiebreakers and that kind of stuff. Basketball still a little more new. I've only been doing basketball for a couple years now. But so if anyone out there knows more about it, feel free to chime in, and not just about that, about anything as we get to our top tens. I'll start. I'm going to name off Danny Glass, one of our fine sponsors. He sent in his list, and then I'm going to throw it over to you guys. Then I'll bring up Mark and my own. Uh, Danny, he started off number 10. As I mentioned earlier, breaking into the top 10, he's got Caruthersville at number 10. Right behind is East Prairie. We know they've had their ups and downs. He's got them at ninth. At 10th, at 8th, he's got Bernie. South Penn falls down to the 7th spot. He's got Campbell at 6th, which we just talked about. Just beat Portersville. We'll see them this week. Scott City at 5. I'll get to a point on them here in a minute. Hayti at 4. And then rounding out the top 3, Danny Glass has Risco at 3, Woodland at 2, and Puxico remaining in the top spot. And I just get ready to the audience out there. That might be something that echoes a little bit. So from Crothersville at 10 all the way up to Puxico at number 1. That's Danny Glass's. Charlie, what did you end up with your top 10 this week?
Well, my top 10 this week, I'd say it's a lot of the same teams that were in it last week, of course, but I have a lot of moving involved in my top 10. Honorable mentions to start. East Prairie. I think that Scott City loss knocked them out of my top 10 for just maybe a week. Let's see how they do this week. Zenith, they were an honorable mention last week for me, and that loss to Crothersville is it's not a blemish, I would say, on their record. Crothersville's a good team. It's kind of hard to put them in the ranking after that. And then Cooter, they're 11-3. They're a sleeper team this year. They got some good shooting. Look at some of their games. You look at their Delta game where that was a homecoming game, and they beat Delta a lot in that game. And so to start out my top 10, I have Campbell. I think with that Portersville win, good. It kind of raises the morale up after they lost to Hayti. Number 9, I have Twin Rivers. I think that they are just having a good year all around. They're a solid team. I think they're a little bit better than East Prairie and Zenith, but not as good as the next 3 that I mentioned, which are Hayti. The loss to South Pim just dropped them. South Pim, they beat Hayti and Gateway, but lost to Crothersville. At home. Then Crothersville at 6, and the Zenith and South Pim wins are so huge for the Tigers right now. Then after that, I have Bernie. I believe they have 3 of the best losses in Missouri right now. Campbell, Woodland, Puxico. I don't think you could get better with those losses, and their wins have been impressive too. For Scott City, I think, like I said, that East Prairie win is a real shaker for me. And the top 3, Risco, Woodland, and Puxico. And with Puxico, the only way they move out from number 1 is that someone has to beat them and show that they can beat Puxico this year.
Well, moving. I was going to say, going into my honorable mention, I had 2 of the same, and I got a new entry. Zacuta Wildcats. Coach Mathis sitting at 11-3. You got to give them some kudos for battling back, and they're an honorable mention. Also, Twin Rivers at 12-5, and Zenith at 10-4. My top 10 is pretty much the same. As everybody else's, kind of, sort of. But I've got East Prairie at number 10. That drops them a spot from last week for me. I got Campbell at number 9. That drops them 2 spots at 12-2. I got Hayti at number 8. It drops them 4 spots at 8-2. I got South Penn at number 7. They were 5th in my poll last week, so they've dropped a couple spots. And I got the Crothersville Tigers sitting at number 6, 8-7. That moves them up, from honorable mention to number 6 spot. And man, I wouldn't be surprised if they climb on up. I'm pretty high, given that you both are Crothersville Tiger guys. But if you guys weren't, I'm still kind of high on the Crothersville Tigers. How can you not be at this point? My top 5 is Scott City at 11-2. I had them at 8 last week, so they moved up 3 spots for me. I got the Bernie Mules at number 4. They moved up a couple spots, big wins, 9-3, and they just keep on rolling. Then my top 3 is the same as pretty much everybody. I got Risco at 3, Woodland at 2, and Puxico at 1. But Puxico, they have a couple of big games this week as they go to Dexter and play at Dexter, and then they host Bernie. And that's before their conference tournament. All of them play in the same conference. And so, but right now they're 13-1. They're still the number 1 team to me.
Yeah, and then I'm telling you, on the upcoming schedules, of course, I'm looking forward to the games that I'll actually get to be at. But I'm going to keep my eye on that Puxico Bernie one. And Puxico Dexter's obviously very interesting too. Dexter's not a team that we cover as much, but Puxico Bernie is going to be something that I'm really looking forward to. I think that's going to will solidify to me where Puxico is, because I do think Bernie's a contender too, like Charlie mentioned with their losses. Mark's very similar, a little bit of a shakeup. He's going to start off at 10th with East Prairie, Campbell at 9th. He has Crothersville in there now at 8th. He doesn't feel as highly on Bernie. He's got them at 7th. Hayti right above them at 6th. Then he gets to Scott City at 5th. And then interesting, I thought, was he still has South Penn. Now, he did see South Penn beat his Hayti Indians. He's got South Penn at 4, even after the loss to Crothersville. And then rounding out the top 3, Risco, Woodland, and Puxico. So top 3 pretty similar, but I thought Marcus sticking with South Penn there at the number 4 slot. And he got to see him live and in person twice. So, he knows what he's talking about, but that's his opinion, and we're all entitled to it. For me, I had one major difference than everyone else, but mostly the same. My honorable mentions, Cena fell out of my top 10, and I want to bring up an interesting point. Wednesday night when the Tigers played the Lions, or Thursday night, whichever night it was. I think it was Thursday night.
Thursday, yeah.
Mark brought up an interesting point. Yeah, Mark was the one that said it. He was there doing the stats and the scoreboard for me. At the start of the 4th quarter, don't ask me why, Mark brought up that possibly in a doghouse situation, but 4 of the 5 starters for the Lions were on the bench for the majority of the 4th quarter. That was still a ball game. That was still a manageable 8 minutes of basketball. But the 4 of the 5 starters were sitting, and it wasn't for foul trouble, so I'll just leave it at that. But after that loss, they dropped out of my top 10. They're an honorable mention, along with Cooter, as you mentioned. I've got them as an honorable mention. I like to keep my eye on them. But for my top 10, I got East Prairie at 10, Campbell at 9, which that's going to go either up or down depending on the Crothersville game, the homecoming game. Hayti, I had them fall down to 8th. I got South Penn right behind them at 7th. Crothersville on top of those 2 at 6th. And then my top 5, I've got Bernie at 5. I have Risco down at 4, and I've got Scott City at 3. That's the only major shakeup there. Scott City, I've got to see play a little bit more, and especially this week. I've got them as a top 3 team. They just seem they're so tough to stay with throughout the whole game. I don't know, and I like it seems like they have a strong bench. That's one thing that I've noticed. And I have that little side note, a strong bench for Scott City. I got them at 3, and then Woodland 2, and of course Puxico rounding out my top 5. So Puxico is a unanimous number 1 for all of us. That's no shock, and I think we all agree it's going to take a loss for them to be dethroned from that. But once again, just about all the same teams. I think we're at the point of the season that we basically know, if nothing else, who's pretty good and who's probably going to be a one and done or maybe make it to the second round when it comes tourney time.
Yeah, talking about Scott City, Jeremy, looking at their schedule, tomorrow night they're going to host Cape County Central. And then also on the 30th, they're going to host the South Pembroke Bulldogs. So
Yep.
you'll get to, or, I don't know if that'll be a game we'll cover, but, just talking about Scott City and how tough they are, it's going to be two tough opponents for them coming up shortly.
I will do my best, depending on who else is playing that night and if anyone else is already has that covered. If not, I will put my stamp on that and be glad to cover that. And I'm sure Charlie'd be glad to be my right hand man on that one.
Yeah, my gray van.
Scott City. Hey, I'm getting a new vehicle this week, buddy. So we'll see.
I'm so sorry.
Finally. Don't want to throw any insurance companies under the bus, but somebody drug their feet, and I'm finally going to be able to get everything settled out this week. So I want to talk a little bit more about the Portersville Bulldog ladies. They're 11-3. Is that right now?
Yes, they are 11-3, and like I say, this week they got a couple of big games this week. Tuesday. We're going to have this right here on the Boot Hill Sports Network as we're going to have 3 games at Zenith Hornersville. We've got the boys JV game is going to start, I think, at 5:15. And then the Lady Dogs are going to play the Lady Lions after that. And Zenith Hornersville Lady Lions are 12-5. They're not no pushovers, so that ought to be a really good game. Fight. Yes. And then we're going to have the varsity boys, another Boot Hill Conference clash. Between the Portersville Bulldogs and Zenith, and they're 10-4. So that's going to be a full night of basketball for me on Tuesday. But yeah, talking about the Lady Dogs, man, they're so deep. I didn't broadcast the Chaffee game, but I was watching them, and she's got a freshman on the squad that comes in and plays big minutes. Of course, you got Janiah Smith, who, her and Taryn Irby are the two go-tos, for that team, and they're your scorers. Janiah, probably the number one. Taryn may be the 1A. They work the ball, they get it down low to Maggie Priggle, and it's just kind of a really nice thing to watch. At these girls, you can tell they've probably been playing together quite a while, because just the way they flow and their rhythm. And Kelly Fowler's got she's got a good thing going at Portersville. Hey, she's always has. They've even back when I kept book for Coach Craig Rogers and the Haytime Lady Indians. Coach Kelly Fowler, her team was right there, and they're just tough. They're just tough. They got 3-point shooting. They can score inside. They got hands everywhere. Glow Farmer, Lise Hickenbottom. There's an Otterbridge girl that is really good. I'm probably forgetting a couple of names, but look out. They got to be the favorite to me to win that district. And I know it's a little bit too early to be talking about district time. We got to go through conference first. But you guys are going to get to see them at the conference tournament, as we're going to probably have table-to-table coverage, and I know they'll probably have the 1 seed. I don't think they've lost to any Boot Hill Conference team, but you never know. We still got some basketball left to go. But yeah, I'm excited, and the town is excited about the Portersville Lady Bulldogs.
Oh, and they should as well. They should be. I've got to see them personally once, but I've got to see your coverage, and I read a lot about them. And they've got some candidates for our female athletes of the year. That's something that we're going to be talking about as we move forward towards our award ceremony coming up in the late spring, early summer area. So I'm telling you right now, folks, if you haven't seen the Portersville Lady Bulldogs compete, you need to.
Yes. The freshman that I forgot to mention, Satori Saxton, she really impressed me bringing the ball up. I think she had a few steals. She gets right in there, and you just don't see that very often, them underclassmen. And Glow Farmer is a junior. You got Deasia Arterbridge, who's a sophomore. Lee Sickenbottom, who's a sophomore. They're just a good, solid team, and I'm looking forward to great things from them.
No doubt. There's another side note. We all have come to know and love Jamonte Alexander. He's just knocked out another wonderful accomplishment. He was recognized. This happened on December 26th at the Big River Seal Lion Classic that was down in Manila, Arkansas, that I covered. In that first game against Gosnell, he surpassed 1,000 points for his career, and it's no shock, but what an honor that is for Jamonte. Of course, known more for his football accolades, but he's an absolute star on the basketball court. And then what does he do against South Pam? He goes out there and throws up 40 points in one of the highest, one of the highest rated games that we've had, the most anticipated games. And as Coach Bell mentioned before the Zenith game got started, he accomplished that feat on December 26th. As of before the start of the Zenith game, he's over 1,200 points for his career. So, Jamonte, once again, congratulations, buddy. That's an amazing accomplishment. Charlie, I don't know what that says.
It was supposed to say 40, but this green pin
Use a
is
magic
not.
marker next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Magic marker yourself away. I actually have an update about the tiebreaker situation. I asked the one person who I think would know this off the top of my head, my dad. He said it might be point differential. He's not sure though. It might be point differential. So logically speaking,
that's not much. Not much of breaking news because I think we already guessed that.
This was before you mentioned
your input, buddy.
Well, so I think it's point differential. If then, I think it would probably be South Pim, who would get the 1 seed depending on how the scores fluctuate in the future. Well, I mean, barring some crazy upset that happens to South Pim, Hayti, or Crothersville.
Well, Crothersville controls their own number one destiny. To me, they're going to be. To me, I feel like they're going to be the number one seed. Of course, they got a tough game in Hayti to take care of. But man, they're going. I just feel like they're going to be the number one seed. I think they're going to take care of business. Not trying to shake the trees at my people's at Hayti or anything. But I mean, what I'm watching from them, they're going to be the team to beat. In the boys, Portersville is going to be the girls. JV is, that's Crothersville's probably the JV team to beat too. But just getting back to that conference, man, I just can't wait for it. Can't wait for it, guys. It's going to be so much fun.
I can't either. Now, I mean, that's the one thing. As of right now, like you talked about, Crothersville holds their own destiny. They're undefeated in the conference, so that the Battle of the Boot Heel, just as if it's not the biggest game of the year in every sport, every single year, it's just got that much more to it this year. If Hayti can knock out,
they got Campbell.
We got it.
Yeah, they got Campbell to play too. So
yeah,
Campbell's that's Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
if you look at it,
that's a great point. Go ahead, Charlie.
If you look at it right now, it would be Crothersville. This is the last, or Campbell and Hayti are the last two conference teams they played until the conference tournament, when they have New Madrid, I believe, after. So technically speaking, I think they beat Hayti, they clinched the 1 seed automatically. I think if they beat Campbell, it's about a 70% chance that they get it, unless Hayti, who plays, let's schedule watch here. Hayti in conference this week play Malden, then Crothersville, then they also play Zenith and Portageville. So they still have a few games, and it's as says right here, Hayti is going to be without LaDon Webb for 4 to 6 weeks. Says in the comments.
Right, we got that update the other night, and that's a catastrophic loss for the Indians. I mean, that's a big one.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's been an important piece all year for them and their success as they as they're rocking and rolling along with their schedule. I don't know that if he's out 4 to 6 weeks, that may put him out of districts. I'm not really sure when are we talking about districts? February, end of February.
1 second. I believe
The
that would. Yeah, the 25th of February is when Class 2 districts start.
So maybe he'll be back before then. If that's the case,
it's gonna be
yeah. If that's the case,
really close time.
If it's that 4-week spot, then he'll make it for sure. But if it teeters into the 5 and 6, it gets a little murky for at least the first game of the districts.
Yeah, but Coach Webb, he's going to have them. He's going to have them Hayti Indians with or without whoever they got. He's got next man up, and they got a little bit of a deep bench as well. So they're just going to probably lose some 3-point shooting, a little bit of leadership on the floor. But man, you still got Jamonte Payne, you still got Combat, and you got all the other role players around that do such a great job for the Hayti Indians. So that's a huge loss, but I wouldn't count them out just yet.
Yeah, and
right. Oh no, absolutely not.
Also in the comments, Danny Glass mentioned that Puxico plays Dexter and Bernie this week, and also South Pim has a rematch at Riverside this week. I want to.
That was. Go ahead, Charlie.
All right, something I also want to highlight. Just looking at South Pim's schedule, they have the Boot Hill Conference tournament, and let's say they do make the conference finals. That's on the 7th. The next day, they have to drive up to Mountain View for a Liberty Legends shootout. So South Pim could go on the 7th, win conference, then have to go home, sleep, drive up to Mountain View, and play Bunker the next day, which that's a hard turnaround. Bunker's 12-1 this year.
Yeah. If there's anything I've noticed about South Pim since they had to get to such a late start because of the commotion that went on, they've been having weeks where they've been playing. I think in the last 2 weeks they played Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games back to back to back. This is a conditioned team, so I think they're ready for just about anything. But you're right, that turnaround from the conference tournament to, like you said, Bunker, that's a test of strength, I guess.
Right, and if they end up winning the Boot Hill Conference tournament, Coach Jordan McGowan, he ain't gonna be so pressured to have to worry about winning that Bunker game that much. I know they're gonna want to, but I mean, you're talking about a huge accomplishment coming up, winning that Boot Hill Conference tournament. That's gonna take the pressure plumb off of them as far as that next day goes. But yeah, they'll be ready. That them boys are they got fitness. Fitness ain't nothing to them. So.
Well, and that's just what I was getting into earlier about this week. We were mentioning Danny as well, Danny Glass, and Chris. You're the first one to bring it up. The games this week, folks. Pay attention and tune in because this is just another outstanding week to see who's who in the area. This is why we do Shootin Hoops in the Boot, because these area teams, any given night, some of them look like superstars, and then we've seen a couple go down, unfortunately. And I think I speak for all of us here at the Boot Hill Sports Network when we say, LaDon, get well soon. And Chris, you're right. Coach Webb will have that team ready to go. It's every team has those. Will get nicked up here and there, so we wish for a speedy recovery. But this week is really going to show a whole lot. All the games with Portersville has the 2 big games for Caruthersville, and then the other ones that Charlie was talking about with South Pim. So this will be another week where we come up here 1 week from tonight at 7 o'clock, and you may as well take your top 10 and just throw it out the window because there's no telling. You just crumple it up, and this is going to be a shot at Mark because you guys saw the picture of Mark and Danny's top 10. I don't know if he had found that piece of paper in the trash or what, but it took me a while to decipher what it said on that. That crumpled up piece of paper.
War torn.
Took me just a minute. Yeah. I don't know if he thought that was something else, threw it away and thought, and went and found it or blew his nose in it or what. But luckily I got through it and figured it out, deciphered that handwriting. There was one other thing that came to mind this week, and I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on it too, because it's something that we've all been very passionate about this year. As I just like to point out, we know what happened earlier in the year. We know what happened at Gideon. We know the two teams that suffered the consequences for it. We also know the other team that suffered the consequences last year. I'd just like to point out that over the past 2 weeks, there have been games that involved those three teams. You know who I'm talking about out there. I'm talking about the Crosville Tigers, the Hayti Indians, and the South Pebblescott Bulldogs. Every game, and I've been to a couple of them. Mark's been to several of them. Every game went off without a hitch, folks. I've seen nothing but sportsmanship. I'm talking about hard physical play, charges, and as soon as you knock someone down with all your might, picking that opposing player up, patting them on the back, checking to make sure you're okay, and then going back and playing basketball. It's not the players. It's the players that get punished, but it's not the players. These are three outstanding basketball programs, and I just want to say, now that I've got to see it, I've got to be at each and every school. I want people to remember it's the the teams, the players that are affected by the consequences of the actions of others. And it's a shame that these teams that I've watched are not playing the schedules that they originally had designed before the season, because these are three really good teams now. And it's just to me over the past week a remembrance, getting to see them on the court and to see how talented the players are, and the fact that because of the actions of others led to the consequences that led up to this, for lack of a better word, jacked up season and jacked up schedules, and trying to find teams in Timbuktu just to fill out a schedule just because of the bad actions of others. Remember, folks, it's not the players. Don't blame the players. Don't blame the coaches. Get out there and support them as much as possible. If you can't get out there and watch them, guess what? That's why the Boot Heel Sports Network does what it does. We're proud to present them, their skill set, and their athleticism. And I just want to say that I'm honored that I get to see like the Boot Heel Conference tournament. Guess what teams we're going to get to are going to be on display, and we're sitting here debating right now who the number one seed is, instead of talking about some kind of shenanigans that happened in front of a concession stand or in a hallway. Let's focus like we have been and like everyone should be. Let's focus what's going on the court, because there's really, really good things happening in the Boot Heel and the entire Southeast Missouri on the court, and they're happening by some of the teams that were reprimanded because of foolishness of other people. And I had to get that off my chest, because being a part of the games with the players, with the coaches, and talking amongst the fans, sitting with the fans, it's basketball is heaven to a lot of people. And these players have worked hard and earned their positions on the court. They deserve to play the best of the best. And I'm gonna leave it at that and let you guys jump in.
Okay. For me, it was frustrating, not to harp on exactly, what happened, but you got a student from a student A from school A, attacks, students from school B, and team A, team B, team C, team D gets kicked out of the tournament. Okay, so be it. I mean, let it go or whatever. But, those teams are now out of the Bloomfield Conference tournament. Those teams are now out of the Gideon tournament. Hopefully, there's not ever any trouble at Bloomfield. There's not ever any trouble at Gideon. But the thing is if there are, that's for the tournaments to figure out. Good luck with that. But all I know is Coach McGowan, Coach Bell, and Coach Webb are three of the classest acts you're ever going to find coach wise. Coach Bell had to overcome it last year. Coach McGowan and Coach Weber are doing the same this year. And the communities are behind. It's just, like I say, unfortunate. It still aggravates me to this day, even though, I do cover Portageville now. But because, the wrong people got punished, let's just be honest. The towns got punished, the teams got punished, and the town and the team had nothing to do with what happened for as far as the individual turmoil goes. So, but I think with them, all three of them coaches, especially Coach McGowan and Coach Webb this year, hey, the page has been turned. I'm sure that there may be a thought or two by each one of them about it here and there, but the page has been turned, and they've got great basketball teams that are going to be right there come district time when it matters and when it counts. And it would just, of course, I want my Portersville Bulldogs to go on and win everything, but if not, my heart will be, pleased if it would be South Pim or Crothersville or Hayti.
As a student, especially after experiencing it last year or last sports cycle with what happened to Crothersville, it's just kind of like I said last time we had a conversation about this on the show. It's sickening that as a country, as a community, we have to deal with acts of violence at sporting events. Is anywhere. It could be from just a rec league game to a college football game, an NFL game, and we have to deal with this. And the wrong people get blamed for it, especially around here. The schools get blamed for it. The administrators get blamed for it when it wasn't their fault. It was the students that came over there that went to just wreck shop and everything. That, I mean, they're the ones to blame. And it's just, as a country, we have to think about this, and it sucks to say we have to have better protection at these events. We have to have these metal detectors there, like how Crothersville has it, so nothing can happen. And it's, I mean, you'll see it next month. Nothing is going to be a celebration of basketball, a celebration of a great Boot Hill Conference season where, like Jeremy said, we were debating who's going to be the 1 seed in that tournament that happens in just under a month. And the fact that some people are not I don't want to say scared to come to this tournament, but are a little worried because of some of the names in here it's just really sad to see as a community.
Well, Portersville is going to host the Boot Hill Conference tournament, guys, as y'all are well aware. And law enforcement, security, they're always there. And so, I don't think there will be any situation that they won't be ready for. As you've got to plan for anything. And police chief, Ronnie Adams, really great guy, sports oriented. His son Mason was a superstar all-state baseball player with Portersville. And, this community, just for everybody to know, this community's, they're tight, and they're going to be ready to host this tournament. And, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to might be a surprise or two. This team beating that team, and man, like I say, it's going to be a great tournament. Once we get past, this coming up next couple of weeks of some really tough basketball.
It's going to be, and like I said, I hate to bring up. The only reason I bring up the subject that we touched on when it happened, and it's long in the past, is just because I just wanted to point out that these teams, luckily, they are playing. They're playing well, and there has not been an incident. And not only has there not been an incident, there's been nothing. And I'll quote Danny Glass: the two perfect words, could have said it better myself. Exceptional sportsmanship from all of these teams, and not just the 3 teams I mentioned, but all the other teams that I've got to see between Chappie, Delta, Zenith, you name it. Every team that I've seen come through, Riverside out of Arkansas when I was at the tournament in Manila. I mean, these players don't get enough credit for how respectful and how much sportsmanship they really bring to the contest, and that's not just from the players. The players get that from the coaches. It comes downhill, and like you said, though, these are because of the three teams that we named, just because they were involved in the incidents over the past 2 years. You want to talk about three standout coaches that know how to not dodge bullets so far, but stand up when other people were trying to put them down. Webb, uh, like you said, Webb, Bell, and
McGowan.
McGowan.
Coach McGowan.
Absolutely,
Yep.
just
Yeah.
yeah, just fantastic coaches, fantastic players, and it really it hit home with me being at the games, being a part, and like you said, when you're in at Crothersville, at South Pam, a lot of these games, a lot of these places, when you're broadcasting, you're in amongst the crowd, you're in amongst the fans, you become a fan. You know, Charlie likes to joke because of how loud I get when I broadcast. That's just me. That's just because I get excited. I got fans next to me yelling "boo" to this and "yay" to this, and I'm hearing every bit of it. And I'm getting excited for the guys I know, the guys I see each and every night. So, uh, I'm with you, Chris. Sure, I'm a Crothersville guy. I live in Crothersville. I'm the voice of the Tigers. You're the voice of the Bulldogs. Charlie is a Tiger currently, and the voice of the Tigers as well. But I would love to see any of these teams go on. And I'm like you. I think the tournament's going to go off without a hitch. I think it's going to show that the Boot Heel, not like Charlie mentions, not that there's anything to be afraid of, that there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of talent in the Boot Heel, and we're all privileged each and every night to just to be a part of watching them play, calling them play, meeting some of the student athletes, talking to the coaches, having them on the show with us. Uh, just a lot of great things. And then Luke Boggs, thank you so much for what you said. I think he's right. He says the Boot Heel Conference basketball is the strongest I've seen from top to bottom in several years, and I couldn't agree more. So thank you, Luke, for that. Because
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I don't care if you're a basketball fan or not out there, if you don't have anything going on, find yourself a seat in Portersville because that whole tournament is going to be an absolute blast. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, there's going to be people from Tri County. I call what I call Tri County Conference area. You know, Gideon, Clark. There's going to be some people from there that's going to come over and watch the Boot Hill Conference because everybody knows. Everybody knows how the Boot Hill Conference is, and they know there is some top-notch basketball teams that's going to be played in this tournament, boys and girls. And so, yeah, there's going to be quite a few people. It's going to be a full house at Jim Bidwell Court, as it should be for the Boot Hill Conference tournament. That's for sure.
Well,
I
and I
have.
think that
Oh,
Chris, go ahead, Charlie.
I have one final update about the tiebreaker situation. One final update. Point differential with common opponents in conference with a special little message for Jeremy at the end. There's a special little message that I'm not sure I can read it on air. It says you can suck it.
Probably not. Then.
It says you can suck it, Jer.
No, I said no offense to Matt. I said I appreciate you, buddy, but the shot was taken at you, Charlie, not at you, Matt. The shot was taken at Charlie because Charlie was on. He said I've got an update, and it was the update was something we had just discussed.
Well, it's point differential with common opponents in conference, which I think
That
would.
one is that's new news. The first time it was something that just came out of the mouth of Chris Brown himself, so it wasn't any kind of breaking news.
It was agreeing with Chris. The first text was agreeing with Chris. Says I think Chris may be right about point differential.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Croswell takes care of business, so what we're talking about ain't even gonna matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Malden game might seal the deal for if Crothersville obviously loses the hay tie. If it's point differential by conference or common conference opponents, the Malden game for Crothersville might have sealed the deal because that's a 40-point swing.
40-point win.
That's a 40-point swing right there that adds to the Tigers.
Yep.
Well, if I'm supposed to, I'll go on air and say I apologize, not to Charlie, to Matt. Sorry about that. Was not taking a shot, but just saying until we get some until Charlie starts talking to some Misha officials, and then maybe. But like Chris said, the whole thing's probably going to be a moot point in a week anyway. We'll have a lot more understanding of where we're at and who's who in a week.
Yeah.
Talking to Mr. officials.
Well, there's just one more point I'd like to make out. We invite anyone from anywhere to comment and join into our conversations at any given time. I want to thank everyone who's joined us tonight. Between Matt, Danny, poor Mark,
Luke.
sickly at home, Luke. There was a couple of people that were on right when we first got on. Nyla, London, MG.
Which one do you think it is?
Before we go, you got anything to add about coming up this coming up week, or anything else that you want to add?
I need some confirmation on something. Is the Hayti game Friday or Saturday? Because on Misha it says both.
It does say both. I noticed that.
It does. It does. It has Friday night and Saturday morning. I'm pretty sure that it's Saturday. I want to say it's Saturday. Mark, if you're still with us, if you could comment on that. But I'm almost
also hello,
it's
Eliza.
Saturday. It's going to be taking place Saturday.
Eliza commented hi. So hello, Eliza. Boom.
I think they just got home.
Yeah, I'm her favorite cousin and
you're
family member. It is 11 a.m.
Saturday at 11 a.m. And that is taking place at Hayti. Battle of the Boot Heel at Hayti, Saturday at 11 a.m. Thank you, Coach Bell.
Yeah, Coach Bell.
Okay, I'll make one more plea. This is on air. I know you're watching, Matthew Senior. You want it's his weekend, but do you want to come up here and watch Hayti Crothersville, please?
Or you put him on the spot since
I'm putting him on the spot on air. Yeah. You want to come watch Hayti Crothersville?
So an open invitation to Matt Duckworth to come watch the Battle of the Boot Heel Saturday at 11 o'clock at Hayti. That's just
Whoa! I got fireworks.
Before we get out of here, guys, I want to also congratulate the Portersville JV basketball team as they had a tournament last week at Malden. The Malden JV tournament had 8 teams in it. Dexter was seeded first. Donovan was second. New Madrid third. Charleston fourth. Portersville seeded fifth. Malden seeded sixth. Bernie was seeded seventh. And Kennett was seeded eighth. And the Portersville JV Bulldogs went 2-1 in that tournament. They lost the opening round game to Charleston, but they went on to defeat Kennett, and then they upset Donovan in the consolation final. So Coach Jalen Mosby, of course, Coach G.J. Smith, congratulations to the Portersville JV Bulldogs. And I think they even had a couple of players gone Saturdays when they played the consolation final, gone to Beta. And Branson. So congratulations to Portersville for the JV tournament. Hey, you know how the future is. Future's always bright. And, of course, Portersville has a few JV players that do start and play for the varsity. So, congratulations to them. Also, before I get out of here, catch me Tuesday right here on the Boot Hill Sports Network as we'll be going to Zenith Hornersville. We're going to have 3 big games for you. We're going to have the boys JV game starting at 5:15. We'll have the girls varsity after that, and then the boys varsity after that. Also catch me Friday at Malden, where the boys will battle the Malden Green Wave in a Boot Hill Conference clash there too. So I'm working on the Twin Rivers game. And like I say, as that came about for the boys, that came about late, but we do host Twin Rivers on Thursday. Not sure if I'm going to do that game or not, but stay tuned and keep us up on Facebook and maybe broadcasting that game too. So
if not, at the very least, try to get some scores for us. That'd be great because that's we've been talking about Twin Rivers all season.
Mm-hmm.
And then I should have done this beforehand. I'm not sure about Haytie's schedule this week. Does anyone have that pulled up?
I got you. I was just looking at it. Let me back the tab out. All right. Let me make sure this is Hayti. Yep. So Hayti this week they're going at Malden, then at Delta. I believe it's Delta R5
Mm-hmm.
that they play. Then
Okay.
after that it's Crothersville, and then it'll be our next show, and we'll get into that next week. The games next week.
Okay, so we got Portersville, we got Hayti, and then Crothersville. Just to recap, has got a big game against Campbell Tuesday night. That's homecoming at Crothersville. We'll be on there at 6 o'clock for the junior varsity game and festivities. And then the Battle of the Boot Heel Saturday. We'll probably all be there. Chris, we'd love to have you there too if you got time.
We'll have to wait and see what I got going on Saturday.
I'll
Be
be there.
if I'm not there, I will be I'll be intently listening or looking for updates. As
we'll have a full house Saturday.
Here at Bulldog Nation, we'll be highly interested in that game for sure.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be a full house in Hayti, and Saturday morning everyone will be ready to go. So another big week on the Boot Heel Sports Network, folks. Thank you for tuning in each and every night. We look forward to it. If you can't make it to the games, you know exactly where to tune into. There's some fireworks behind Charlie. Any last thoughts before we get off here, guys?
The offer's still available, and Fly Eagles Fly.
Congratulations to all the beta winners, and especially you, Charlie. Good job. Great job.
Absolutely. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to the games and to our podcast. We'll do the same thing next week. Mark, get well soon, buddy. Hopefully you got the day off tomorrow. For all those out of school, everyone be safe. Enjoy your holiday. And stay in touch with us on Facebook and be watching us on YouTube. We appreciate it. And I'm Jeremy Abrams. That's Chris Brown. And that's Charlie Duckworth. Just saying, we'll see you next time on the Boot Heel Sports Network.